Everything we've mentioned before, housing, property, stocks, bonds, are all in bubbles or performing bubbles. Everybody's terrified of each other, terrified of the world that we don't know. Politicians throughout history have stirred it up, stirred it up, stirred it up. It's very easy to blame problems on foreigners. Politicians have been doing it for centuries, but basically we're all the same people. Normally, if you invest in disasters, you come out ahead, if you have the staying power. If you go back and look at the great disasters, certainly if you'd invest in Germany in 1946, you wouldn't have had a good time for a long time. But 20 years later, everybody would have said to you, how did you know? How were you so smart? Is to figure out what's going on. Venezuela, back to that, it's been a country of great success and great prosperity many times in history. Lots of natural resources, lots of education. So if history is any guide, it will be again. But first of all, if you're an American, you cannot do it right now. But even if you're not American, you're going to have to wait a long time. These things don't change overnight. Frequently when I make speeches to universities or something, they ask me what to study. And I say, you should study history. I say, no, we want to be rich. We want to be like you. So I say, okay, you should study history and philosophy. And they say, what? What are you talking about? But if you understand history, you're going to be far, far ahead of most people. No matter what we think today is not going to be true in 1936. And if you know that and can figure it out, you're probably going to be successful. Now, how do we teach everybody to do that? It's a good question. It's a very, very good question because it is very obvious to anybody who sits and reads some history. But most people, they don't. The main lesson of history is that people do not learn the lessons of history. I can sit here all day long and tell you the lessons of history. In Washington, we recently had a president. He didn't know history, and if he did, he didn't care. He thought he was smarter than history. He ignored it. Well, I know I'm not smarter than history, and I know I can learn from it. I don't know how we teach that to the world. If you see the world close to the ground, you're going to learn it. If you read about it on the newspaper, the TV, or the internet or something, you're not going to get the right story. Go out there and see close to the ground, and you'll find out what's happening. So it doesn't matter to me what happens with cryptocurrency. My view is they don't have the gigantic future that many people think they do. But so what? It's not the first time I've missed an investment. I've missed many, many investments. There used to be an expression, there are lots of females on the beach. Don't worry if you don't meet the first one you see. Just keep going walking down the beach. Something will happen. The bulls say this is the future of money. That's why it's called cryptocurrency. And the future of money is, in fact, on the computer. China, it's already there. Every country in the world is working on putting the money on the computer. You cannot buy an ice cream in China with money. So that is the future of money. Now, okay, but my view is that if and when the U.S. says, okay, here's your money now. This is money on your phone. I don't think the U.S. government is going to say, okay, this is the money now, but if you want to use that money over there, you can use it. It's not the way those guys in Washington think. They like power, they like monopoly, they like control. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe politicians after centuries are going to change and say, use whatever you want. I would prefer that, but they don't like it because they lose control. No matter where the bureaucrats were, no matter what the country was, even if I was just there to borrow a piece of paper, borrow a pencil or something, it was still in panic. So bureaucrats are pretty much the same all over the world. Now, there have been cases in history. Deng Xiaoping was probably the most important person in the 20th century, or 21st century. He changed the world when he changed China. Lee Kuan Yew here. There have been politicians, bureaucrats, leaders who have done fabulous things for countries and for the world over history. Most of them have not. Most of them have made many mistakes and caused more problems than there were. Certainly the bond market all over the world is in a bubble. Bonds have never been this expensive in world history. Many property markets, go to New Zealand, Korea, parts of America, there are bubbles. Certainly stocks. Stocks are beginning to have bubbles in some countries. I mean, 10 cent goes up every day. Amazon goes up every day. Samsung goes up every day. These things happen. But it's not a complete bubble yet. because there's still a lot of stocks that haven't turned into a bubble. Usually in a bubble, everything is in the bubble and is participating, and that's the time to move on. I haven't started selling short anywhere in the world yet, or no stocks anyway, because I don't think the bubble has reached its full bubble yet. First of all, the Japanese stock market is down 35% from its all-time high, which was 31 years ago. Not much in the world like that. The head of the Bank of Japan goes to work every day, and he says he is going to print, his word, unlimited amounts of money. And he does. And he buys, he makes investments. If he has more money than I do, if he's going to buy Japanese ETFs, I own Japanese ETFs because he's got a lot of money and he's pumping it into the markets. So yes, Japan has huge problems. I've written 3 bestsellers in Japan in the last 2 years talking about Japan's problems. But I own Japanese ETFs now because of the Bank of Japan. Russia, everybody hates Russia. But whenever I see something that everybody hates, I at least start to look and listen and see if maybe I should do something. Just today, I shouldn't tell you because I haven't done anything yet, but I need to see about opening an account in Saudi Arabia because there are huge changes taking place. I mean, beyond my comprehension. You know, I've been looking at doing things in Saudi Arabia for decades. I started buying in the Central Asian republics last week. So yeah, there are places that are not on everybody's list, and there are not very many of them, right? I will tell you, the single cheapest asset class are commodities. Everything we've mentioned before, housing, property, stocks, bonds are all in bubbles or performing bubbles. Commodities are, silver's down 60% from its all-time high. Sugar's down 60% from its all-time high. These are not bubble numbers when you're talking about being down 60%. So this is the single cheapest asset class I know. I haven't always been bullish on commodities. If you look at anything, especially commodities, you see they've been long bull cycles and long bear cycles. In my view, we're now coming into, or have been coming into, a new bull cycle again. I mentioned to you about agriculture. It's down. The average age of farmers in America is 58 years old. Agriculture has been a nightmare in most of the world. The average age in Japan is 66. The highest rate of suicide in the UK is in agriculture. More people in America study public relations than study agriculture. Nobody wants to be a farmer. That often means that there's no competition and they're all dying out. There are opportunities. If I was smart, I'd buy some land and become a farmer. First of all, I'm not smart, and second of all, that's hard work, and I don't think I'd be very good at it. You should only do what you think you're good at. But I do see wonderful opportunities in being a farmer, owning the land, raising the crops. Because the way the world is going to work, first of all, there are fewer farmers. Second of all, product prices are going to be going higher and higher, and there's going to be less and less supply. And be sure you learn 2 languages fluently, more fluently, but whatever you do, make sure you're fluent. Don't learn 4 badly. Yet whatever you do, learn other languages perfectly fluently. Because in the world we're coming to, that's going to be an even bigger advantage going forward. And the other one is to get out of town. If you live in Alabama, leave. You can always come back, but leave for 2 or 3 or 4 years. But just leave your own country for 2 or 3 years, because it will teach you a lot about your own country. It will teach you a lot about yourself, and you will see the whole world with a different brain. You can always come back. But remember, if you come back, you got to pay taxes. In the next 15 or 20 years, everything is going to change. One of the points I make in one of my books is that no matter what we think today, it's not going to be the case in 15 years. And you can pick any year in history, 1900. Everything that people thought in 1900 was wrong in 1915. And everything that people thought in 1915 was wrong in 1930, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So everything has changed in the last 20 years, including you and including me.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.